We should have a conversation about I-81. I was at the South Side panel today. Everything from Colvin Street north to the traffic circle at Van Buren. And so they have the consultants have created a presentation that they're going to be taking out into the community. But they're going to be having these noise walls, and they're talking about opportunities for either murals or inlay or bas relief or something on those walls. I also suggested that they should maybe be looking more broadly at the Martin Luther King school site, because it's the only place where you can actually connect the interior of the South Side out to Almond Boulevard. Okay. So, I don't know that it's something for this meeting, but we might want to. No. Yeah, they haven't commissioned artists. They don't even, they're going to end up going out into the community to talk about themes. Okay? They have some suggested themes, but nothing, only to stimulate discussion. It's not, DOT has no favorites. They've illustrated some possibilities. But the whole point is to stimulate discussion. At today's meeting, there were Blueprint 15 people. There were Syracuse Housing Authority people, DOT engineers, and the landscape architecture consultants. Well, yeah, they're not public meetings. There's a panel for the South Side, probably for each group, for each of the contract areas. There's a bunch of contracts, okay? So there's a group of people who are in the South Side panel.
As ready as I'm going to be,
for better or worse. So I talked about the Public Art Commission and about, said, stretching it out there. I said we would be glad to be of assistance in, advancing public art in that area. Maybe not so much with the emphasis on the community meetings. No, the community meetings, because they have a process for doing that. Okay, I suggested we might be a greater help in assuring that with whatever kinds of things the community and the city, meaning Joe Driscoll and his team and others came up with as the themes for public art. We could weigh in on that too, but that we could help them find the artists and help them find the money,
or give me the
and assure
either
quality stuff.
Take control.
Okay, so I'm sure we can do anything else. There's room for us to do, but I want to make it look like they were going to have to. I didn't want us to duplicate anything already in motion, and I also didn't want to make it look like working with us was going to interfere with the flow.
Oh, wait.
The karaoke version is a good idea. Let's just be careful.
It's the tough nut to crack, is making sure that DOT
Probably.
manages its responsibilities to the letter and still accepts
Come on, Kumar, we can't do
the
anything.
integration of city needs and desires in the process. So,
Especially it's not a name.
I'm a constituent.
That's not something I want to say.
And it's being there at the right time in the right moment to make sure that.
yeah, I'm going to ask, the team that presented, the lead team was from Fisher Associates Landscape Architects in Ithaca. And one of the two co-leaders is one of my former students, and the other co-leader is a person whom I just really like and is really talented. If I know them well enough to ask them, I think I'm going to ask them if I can have, or if they can, if it's on their website, to direct us to today's presentation, so that you can see what they have in mind. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'll try to set something up. Yeah, as soon as I have an opening.
Friday was 4 hours.
This week is all
Saturday
meetings and grad students, and more meetings and more grad students. Next week's first week of class, and that's usually not a good time. But the week after that is, you need to get into a rhythm yet. But I think the commission I spoke,
I am so not animal friendly in this city at all. I don't want squirrels. Don't want groundhogs.
You live over in my neighborhood, right?
Don't want rats. I don't want bats. Yeah, we had rats in the
Where do you,
basement.
where do you live?
I live on Allen Street. So right up
Yes, so we live in the same neighborhood. I've never seen a rat in
I have never seen a rat.
I don't think I've ever seen a rat in Syracuse.
They came from your house.
At least.
And they came over to mine. The only saving grace about the whole story is that when they were found dead in the basement, they had the green poison that I put down under their nails. So I was like, yes.
Sure. Hey, cold-blooded.
well, we turned on to Scott Home Boulevard last evening, and there were nine deer in the boulevard, in the green space in the middle of the road there.
The babies.
Yeah, adults and kids, eating, and, we stopped and sort of, my wife starts talking to them, so we stopped and talked to them, and they looked up and then went back to eating.
Tell them not to eat all the plants that are in everybody's yards. Like there's nothing to eat anymore on Allen Street.
We've fenced off our garden, and we got around the 6-foot limit by putting lots of large shrubs that go above the 6-foot limit, so they're planted right beside the fence. And so to the deer, it looks like it's too much to leap over. They can't discern that there's a way through. So, because 2 years ago, they were sleeping in our yard, and we said, no, okay, that's got to stop. Because when they sleep there, they'll poop there.
All right, Brian. Oh no, we're still waiting. I think we did that really off.
That was the end. That was the end.
We'll have some this week.
talking about voting a vice chair. Introducing Maggie.
I think you know Ryan.
Since your discussion, a couple of others.
Probably at least face.
She's going to talk to that person, but without the urgency she had 2 days ago. Yeah.
Wow. Vatican. 12 years ago, crucified. So, I always try and tell that story to people because you never know. You're always going to know somebody who has a really bad prognosis.
You're always hoping you're the 10%, but he wasn't. Which is funny.
This is a friend of yours or somebody you
No, I've seen him around in circles, and I know we all have, but I don't know.
I think I've, we crossed paths.
I did, yeah, yeah.
know the name of the lady who died, who's the 107, the literacy, Ruth. I should know that, my daughter. Yes. Yeah. And she was playing golf in June.
We went to the Berkshires to see dance at Jacob's Pillow. Yeah, we go every year. We missed a couple of years during COVID, but modern dance. Well, they do. They have a summer season of ballet and modern dance. We always go to see modern. Ballet drives us nuts. Modern, but it's up the road from Tanglewood, which usually has resident orchestras during the summer. But yeah, it's really nice. We also stumbled upon the best bookstore we've seen in a long, long time. I thought they were going to have to call the police to get us out of there. We just, We're suckers for bookstores, so.
Yeah. Especially like when you discover one while you're just on like vacation or a trip or something.
Yeah, two, yeah.
And then they're actually opening, not that it's a great bookstore, but it's Barnes and Noble in the mall. I never go to the mall, but occasionally I have to. Yeah, didn't they say the mall's about to go into receivership? Yeah, I was like,
It's like that
They
perfect
just
time
hold
for
it
a
on their
bookstore.
relaxed like a little bit, so that feels like a very
maybe it's not
Some
real.
of them is there.
Maybe it's not real, maybe it's just.
No, it could be real, it's just whether that's
Advertising
advertising
in the front.
effort of some sort.
Yeah, I'm sure they're working hard to
Yeah,
bring
right.
in a bunch of new
They
tenants.
need to put a blockbuster in there.
Makes sense. They have schools, flagship schools, that lost Lord and Taylor and Jessica Benning.
But there was a group, Camille Brown Dance, and she created it was the premiere of a new piece of work, and with a live band. The drummer was out of sight, really just exquisite. And I actually we both like live dance with live music, and it was really fantastic. It's mostly African American and Latin themed music, so it was drivingly rhythmic. Yeah,
Drum set or like hand drums?
drum set with keyboard and interestingly violin. Yeah, it was they were out of sight. They were great.
Sorry, hi. Sorry, guys.
Pleased to meet you.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry I'm late. Hey there.
Hi, how are you?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
I'll be here after dinner.
You gotta sit up here.
Thank you.
No? Okay. I thought I turned it off.
I don't think you can turn these off. Sure.
No? Okay, I don't know. Whatever.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Syracuse Public Art Commission meeting. My name is Tina Zagiva. I am the chair. I'd like to take a moment to go around and introduce ourselves. We have a couple new members. I'm going to start on my left.
Elias Gwynn?
Maggie Levis.
Benny Guzman?
Cara Smith.
Emmanuel Carter.
And Kofa.
So I'm going to remind everybody, make sure you speak into these microphones because we are live streamed on YouTube and this is how people hear us and judge us. So please speak clearly into the microphone. So welcome new commissioners. Thank you so much for taking on this responsibility. I know both Takara and Maggie and they are both amazing people and they're going to help us out tremendously. Before we move on, should we talk about the need of a vice chair?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was appointed as the chair of the commission, it left a vacancy for the vice chair. And the role of the vice chair is to lead the meetings in my absence. If we don't have an officer present, we can't have meetings. So it's important that we elect a vice chair. It's a 2-year term, and I'm not really sure how those terms fall. I think, Anne, you might have a spreadsheet or something going for that. And actually, I don't even think there was a vice chair before me. Honestly, I'm not even sure. So this all may be new terms starting out.
I don't remember there.
I don't
being
think they
such.
ever did that. So, So is anyone interested in the vice chair position? Okay, do we have a
I'd
nomination?
like to nominate Benny.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Welcome aboard.
Yes.
All right, so moving on to business. I want to try to move this as quickly as possible so that we're not all sitting in here when there's a beautiful Hanover Thursday going on. Okay, so as you all know, we have a master plan, and it is up to the commission's responsibility to write this master plan and to implement it. So it has been written. It definitely needs to be revised, but that's another discussion for the future. But what I was hoping to do now that we have a full-time coordinator, we have a little bit of funding in the city budget, and then we're in the Parks Department, now is the time to develop the action items from our master plan. And so the task forces were meant to develop those actionable items so that we can actually implement the master plan. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So what we did last time is we divvied out, we put a sheet out of all the task forces, people signed up for it, and what I had asked at this meeting in particular was a report. And then Ann had sent out a template in advance just to kind of give everybody something to work from. I mean, you didn't have to use it, but if we're all doing the same type of thing, we can easily move through the materials together. So with that, Ann, do you have anything to say about this?
No, you're doing great. Just keep moving along.
Anybody else?
Into discussion.
Questions, concerns? Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is just go through each one of these task forces. Sound good? And for those that are not here, we'll just have them report at the next meeting. Sound good? Okay. Public Arts, Artists, Education Outreach, they're not here. That's Anita and Devana. Public Art Program Planning and Community Outreach. Emmanuel, do you have anything prepared for this?
I don't have a prepared report, but I did, I was in an I-81 meeting this afternoon, and public art came up a lot.
Yeah.
And it was the South Side panel for Contract Area 5. So from Colvin Street north to Van Buren, where it'll touch down at a traffic circle, okay? And so the design team made a presentation of where that project is right now, and it looks as if there's going to be several opportunities to use noise walls and other surfaces for public art. And so I did suggest that the Public Art Commission would be, able to play some kind of role in that without being very specific yet, because they're not yet.
Well, they have, I don't know where they're planning this, but they're having Brandon Lazore, I think, or maybe it's Tadadaho, or Lauren Iron, one of the Native American artists paint on those noise barriers, but I don't know where that is in the location to the south side.
And I don't know where that came from. Today, what they had was suggested themes. They want agreed upon themes, coming out of the community and the community writ large. And so I don't think anybody's going to do anything on any of those surfaces immediately. And then there's the larger discussion about what goes in the boulevard. DOT will make space for the lanes, and there'll be a median, but they will not make any decisions about either public art or trees until the city departments say we will fund them, we will maintain them, we will insure them, the art.
Oh, so we have to fund it if we want to do it in that space. They won't provide any funding?
No, they'll make space,
Yeah.
but they want to know at a rather detailed level what we want, how much space we want, what we need it to look like, how flexible it needs to be. So I see those things as one of the things that you know, that group number 2 might be able to put a little time in, and since I'm a permanent member of that committee, I can be an ear and share things with the rest of the commission. I'm sure there are other ways in and out of that team as well. But, and Joe Driscoll's aware of who we are and what we might be able to contribute. So anyhow, so I
So
didn't.
then what we need to do is write a proposal of the space we want and how we want to use it? Is that what we need to do?
Yes, I think we're going to need to do that because Joe's not really in a position to help them think that through. I think we need to help Joe think it through so that because he meets with them way more than I do. And he meets with them about all of the whole works, okay? But the opportunity, the way they've put it, is that the maximum opportunity for new public art is from where it touches down to grade up to Erie Boulevard. So that north-south boulevard that now is essentially Almond Street, but will be totally unrecognizable once they redesign it.
Right. Okay.
So,
I'm meeting with Sarah on the same topic. I'm meeting with Sarah Walton next week. And
She's the one that does the Adams Street corridor. Okay. Got it. Okay.
so and I'll mess with this and see if I can think of some other things that we might want to do that are in shorter term. With DOT, it's always hurry up and tell us what you want, but you won't be able to do anything until we finish construction and have made sure that that where they need to have automatic access has been determined, and then all the places they don't need to be on a regular basis to meet their standards. Okay, now we can talk about that land. Okay.
Dan, I don't know whether you had any idea of the date. In one of the meetings I was at, and you know more than I do, they said, well, that'll be, that won't be decided until 26. Was
Right,
one of
yeah.
the dates I got.
Yeah, that's and they won't, and that's in determining the dimensions of what they're going to build, but we can't touch any of that until they finish construction, which will be, 2 or 3 years beyond that.
Yeah.
So, here's the thing. There was one person in the meeting who, from the New York Civil Liberties Union.
Lanessa?
Who wants housing in spaces that some of us would rather see something else. I have to admit, I was a little miffed about it because none of us would buy a house that close to that much exhaust, okay? We shouldn't ask anybody else to either, okay? However, it would be good space for urban forest with aspects of public art in that, and it's an extension of the MLK school. And we just negotiated with the school district an approach to biophilic school sites, meaning forested school sites. It took 6 years to wrestle that into a civil discussion. So MLK could be a really good opportunity to do that. And that would cut down on a lot of the particulate matter coming off the highway, yet be sites for public art that would be appropriate for it's a new STEAM school now. So I think there's a lot of places where we could be intervening with, okay, here's an opportunity for public art, and we got to get it, we got to be in their face in a nice way, early and often. So because there are competing ideas for the use of a lot of spaces on this new boulevard.
So how soon can we put together, excuse me, a proposal of, like a generic, this is what we want to do, get it on the table, start getting it in front of people? Like, how soon can we produce something like that?
I think pretty quickly because we did a design studio for this at ESF.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which actually illustrated a range of possibilities. The parkland behind MLK School is now in the drawings that DOT is using to talk to the community. And I'm glad about that. So at the moment, that's, at least temporarily, it's a given.
Right.
So, and where we might make the best use of space, block by block from Van Buren up to Erie Boulevard, we've illustrated that. And I should, Joe Driscoll actually has the thumb drive with all that on it.
Yeah.
I should get that back from, not get it back, but copy it back.
Yeah.
And maybe in a September or October meeting, run through it on a screen here, so that you guys can see it, so that we can find agreement among ourselves. I don't want to say to anybody outside of our group that this is what we want to do if you haven't seen it.
So can we put that on the agenda for October, you think?
It'll be fine, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For clarification, the area around MLK, is that the land that they're talking about that might be gifted back to the city?
Yeah.
I was just trying to make sure that was the same piece of land.
Yeah. Right now, it's just it's artificial. It's an artificial mound.
Yeah.
But they're going to be taking some of that height away as they start to allow the highway to descend and come under the railroad bridge to Van Buren Street. They're going to build a new bridge. They already have designed that because the railroad company, Delaware, Susquehanna, and Western, or something like, or New York, Susquehanna, and Western, some fly-by-night crew, but but they run regularly. They actually already know how many days they have to interrupt service to build the bridge. Okay. Talking to engineers can actually get into your head. They got a lot going on. So, there's really good things that can be happening there, and I think it's just a really great time for the Public Art Commission to say, hey, how about X?
Yeah.
Yeah, and 2 years isn't really even a very long timeline if you're thinking of trying to get competitive, when you're thinking about NEA grants or the amount of funding that you would ideally, in Fantasyland, that you would like to acquire to create public art for that state or spaces. So,
Nice. Anything else?
Not yet.
Okay.
not today.
Well, let me put this. I will bring to the table in the fall. We also did a design studio that looked at public art opportunities along the Genesee Street corridor that goes by the old City Hall Commons, that pedestrian corridor, and stretching up to Clinton Square, and also down east on Onondaga Street, down to Salina, and the what's the new facility at Salina?
Salt City?
Salt City Market,
Yeah.
Okay. And again, that was, we did that with Kate Alwerder. And so, I would present that as stuff to think about, and see what you think.
I think I have a copy of that, so I could share that with everybody.
I might still have a copy of it.
I think I do have it, because Kate had
Actually.
Yeah, because Kate has the.
Did Kate have a copy of it?
She
Yeah,
has the PDFs.
And we
Sure it's the right
also,
design study.
we also have the shared drive too. If the files are very large, you can just put them in our drive and then share them with everybody too. I don't know what the file sizes are of that stuff, but
All right, I'll check into it, and then I'll ask for help when I can't send it, because it's too big.
okay. Thank you, Emmanuel. Benny and Takara. You probably don't have much to say, and that's totally fine. It's your first day.
I don't have much, but I'm super excited to be back because my ideas, when the opportunity, oh my God, we're having task force. Yes, I would like to do social media. I chose social media because I want to make public arts more visible. I want to be able to engage with more of the young people because we do have a lot of artistic people in the community. Actually, before I was offered to be back on the board, a young man came to me asking me about information, and I forwarded him an application, and I told him all about it, so I will get back in contact with him to make sure, just to follow up with him. But I just have like some awesome ideas just to make us more visible. I think it'll be really cool for us to have like merch, like t-shirts with some of the public art spaces that are already done around the city. You know what I'm saying? And just, just create different opportunities for people from the community to engage. Because we're coming to a time where people are excited about where we're headed, and the changes that have been made here in the city. So I just think that it's an awesome time.
We have managed to set up a time where, because you need social media training, so we have actually managed to accomplish that. So we're going to get social media training. You have to go through the legal stuff and make sure, because it's government site and everything. So that's going to happen in late September.
I want to say it's after, because the show's on the 20th. I told you after that, so yeah.
And that works, right?
Yeah, after the 20th, I'm good. But yeah, so we did set up the training for, I think it's the website and the social media too, correct? Yeah. So yeah, and then just some of the other thoughts I had were really just kind of highlighting the individual artists. I don't think we need to do a lot of video stuff just because, yes, it's high quality, yes, it's nice, but like as someone who's done social media, trying to record like a video a week of that high quality, it's a full-time job. And this is so I love your ideas. We're gonna have fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, also to kind of highlighting some of the artists who've already come through, through TNT, City as Canvas, but then the other initiatives and kind of highlighting like, this is the artwork. And then something else I think would be very important for social media is for people to understand like, what is the process? What does that look like? Where does because Manuel Atiras, who's the artist that we're working with, he was like, so how do you do a mural? And I was like, well, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You have to find funding. Some of them may be funded by grants, and then you come to us. And then, but I think there's a lot of, and like you said, like a lot of people are interested. They see the art going up around the city and are excited, but they don't necessarily know how the process is. So including some of that and just kind of the social media outreach as a kind of a set of like, it doesn't have to be all of it, but like every other week or so, be like, okay, you're interested in doing this. What would be step one, or what would be step two, and possibly even because I know we talked about, especially with the City as Canvas project, like the education portion of it. Because I have a student right now who's like, I want to do a mural. I was like, great, cool. First year art student. So I'm like, you want to just do something big, but for her, she's an illustrator, so she doesn't understand like, okay, what is scalability? What is public interest? Are you just making a big painting that you want to make? Cool. You're not going to do that with my kid. Like you can do that by yourself, but I think that's, and again, I was the same way. I'm still the same way. But being able to support and say, okay, so if this is something you really want to pursue, what does that look like? How does that do that? And again, I know a lot of the artists who've done like the City as Canvas stuff, highlighting some of those things a little bit more. So yeah, really tying that back in. And actually, maybe a question, because I'm wondering like because I know that like a lot of what we do in terms of the Public Arts Commission is specifically with the visual arts. Where does the performing arts come into play? Is that completely separate? Because I think things,
I don't think so.
because I'm wondering things
Public
like,
performances, I think, it's up to us.
Right.
And I think that's
Well,
important.
I guess
so-
it would depend if, like, if it's dancing, there would be like an event, because I don't think we deal with that kind of stuff, but
Well,
define the performance,
well,
I
that's what I'm
think.
thinking, something like Hanover Square, other kind of more public performances that are, that's, because again, I know those are, again,
I guess-
separate, but
I guess my feeling is, because now my full-time position is in Parks and Rec, the crossover can be really, really great for performances because you have all the infrastructure in Parks and Rec performances because they do events.
Right.
So you have staffing, and they're really interested in collaborations. They're interested in creating special events that attract people to see, say, a static work of art,
Yeah.
but having a performance in conjunction with static
Right,
art,
right.
so that you can attract families or different types of community members
Yeah.
who have different interests to events. So I would say the world's our oyster. Keep going until you say no.
Well, yeah, because that's the
Until
thing
you
is,
find that you can't do it, right?
well, that's the thing is like until someone tells me no, we're gonna kind of, because that's the thing. Like I think incorporating the performance aspect of it is part of our social media as like this is part of. And again, we'll be very careful. Like when I was like, oh, Hanover Square Public Arts Commission, like we didn't have anything to do with that, but highlighting that as part of maybe a future initiative, or how does that kind of tie in to kind of, like I know we have a few ribbon cuttings coming up. How does public performance impact in that, or what does that look like in there? And again, these are just kind of thoughts that are kind of sitting with me because, again, if public performance or performance arts become part of the Public Arts Commission, thinking about that as a form of like, because that's really eye-catching on social media. It's a lot more, and it's a lot easier to capture and edit that than necessarily like a documentary about a mural, which is still would be short, but still is a little bit more. I'd have to interview. We'd have to do a lot of other things. Versus,
It's interesting because when I was doing the first City is Canvas mural, I had a woman reach out to me that had a design studio, and she wanted her students to dance in front of the mural during the ceremony. And I said, absolutely, you're more than welcome to join. But it wasn't very formal, and so I don't think she ended up showing up. But there is that interest of having a, crossover.
right.
And I think it makes sense 100% too.
Right.
Yeah, and then the overlap with, another being in parks, then of course they're very interested in increasing activity in the parks. So if the performances or events were related to being in the parks, then you're
Right.
checking
You're checking all the
across
boxes. Yeah.
different areas of interest,
Yeah.
which benefits everybody.
But that's kind of what I was thinking. Again, I know we need to do the training and stuff first. So like, once we start doing that,
Yeah.
Takara, maybe you and I
I
can.
think social media is
brainstorm.
going to be a lot easier than the website. The website
Oh,
is
yeah.
Yeah, what's
No.
going on with that?
animal.
Still no publishing?
No, I have to, that'll be a conversation for another day. We can certainly ask about it if you have questions when we have the meeting
Oh,
on the
yeah.
26th, because Ruthie's going to be there. So I think it's finding time on her agenda because she's very busy, finding time to, she's asked me, so I've got to reach back out and get some dates down to go in. And it's access. I don't know what their access is like for non-government employees, because I have to
Right.
put the stuff in for the agendas and stuff, so I
Right.
have access to the backside
No,
of the
well, and I think
website.
in terms of the website would definitely be much more a static page, where
Yes.
it's like once it's up, we don't touch it for maybe like 6 months, and then maybe we update it with pertinent information. Because I've done similar thing with Syracuse University, where it's like I have certain access, but the social media being more the like
Right.
this is the immediate like
Right.
this is a grant that's coming out.
This
Yeah.
is really obvious, but of course you could prepare what you want to put up,
Right.
and then I could be the physical person who puts that on.
Oh, right.
Because then of course it's great because it's divide and conquer. You're actually
Right.
doing the work,
Yeah,
And then they just put
and
it
then just put it on.
right.
That might be a way to
Yeah.
go. I've got to start pushing heavily again to get progress.
The other thing, main important question, who has the login information for the social media? Is that just Michael John?
She's got
You do?
access.
Okay, perfect. Then yeah, once we get the training, so that way we
All
can.
the login information is available. So
Perfect. Awesome. That's all I really had.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, well, thank you both.
I do want to do commissioner information as well, because I think it's important for the public to know who's on the commission, and also to, because I think even Devana had said something like we're all artists or we're all engaged in this work in some shape or form. So how does that?
Well, we're supposed to be on the website with our bio and our pictures so people know more about us,
and there
but
was a roadblock with that because of not having consistent format and.
so why
I
don't we
have the
do this
images.
where if you want to do this, prepare little spotlights on each
for the-
commissioner and put it on our social.
Right.
And then in the meantime, we can just push some, stuff out here and there.
And then once you get the website all ready to go, you can just
we could just
that
transfer it,
information,
yeah.
just plug and play.
And that's the thing too, like if it needs to be formatted, then maybe that's something where like we can do it outside. Like I can set up a like, okay, Tina, I'm gonna come to your place at like on this day, prepare for like a nice headshot
Yeah,
photo, and
please.
I can
I need
format
a-
that.
For my Tinder.
But yeah, that's that. I was just curious about the social media stuff, but okay.
Yeah, no, that's great. Great.
Okay, thank you. Next is me. Okay, so I prepared a report that you should have on finance and funding. So this is a big one for us, and I don't want to, we could talk for hours. I think we should just, focus on what we can do in the short term, and then there's the long-term stuff. So the short term is developing a mechanism, which we've already talked about, to get funding coming in through like a fiscal sponsor, and then they disperse the funding to the arts or the programming, rather than coming in through the city, which then requires 3 different bids, and then you have to get like your mother's maiden name, and then like have it be flown by pigeon, and then maybe get a check a year later. Like it just is like a whole process. It just takes so long. So it's just way easier to work with a fiscal sponsor. And they already do this in some capacities with other parks groups, like the Friends of Webster Pond. They work with the Syracuse Parks Conservancy. I don't know how other. This is a question that I have: is how do other groups work with parks to do projects in the parks, and they get funding like Webster Pond? What's the permission like? How is that? What is the conversations happening between that group and the parks? Because we have, Life Art Park, which got donations for the Art Shark, and they want to continue to do that. So, Ann and I had talked about creating a consistent policy so that if any group in any park wants to do art, she can say, here's how you do it. And it's not convoluted, it's very transparent, and she's not going crazy trying to work with 20 to 30 different groups, and they all have their own way of working. So I think, for I think we need to figure that out. We need to figure out what does that policy look like and how it can be given to each nonprofit so that it makes sense for everybody. It's simple.
So are you thinking everybody go through one decide on one not-for-profit to go to?
No, I don't think that makes sense, because
Okay.
nonprofits change, throughout the years. They may not have the capacity, or the neighborhood may want to work with one particular nonprofit because it's in their neighborhood. I think we need to develop a policy that when Takara's like, I want to do something in Kirk Park, you can say, here, this is how you do it. And I want to do something in Skiddy Park, and you can say, here, this is how you do it. So that it's consistent no matter which park you're working with. Does that make sense? So the nonprofit could change. It could be TNT on the west side, or the Housing Coalition on the south side, depending on what makes sense for that neighborhood. So, but if you have one document that outlines a process, then that can be just transferred to any nonprofit. Does that make sense? Am I making myself clear?
From my understanding, they're talking about like from the artist perspective. So like if an artist or a collective of artists wants to do something, they need to have like who's the nonprofit, who's the fiscal, essentially your fiscal sponsor is what you're referring to. Like, what
This could be, I'm just saying there needs to be a mechanism. It could be an artist going in, it could be a nonprofit going in, it could be a community group going in, anybody. There just needs to be a mechanism to say, this is how we get money coming in, this is how we get money coming out, and then this is how we oversee your project in that park.
Well, I kind of see them as two different things, but I might not be like grasping what you're saying. Because I was thinking about the process of doing a project in the park. Say Benny's coming and wanting to do a project in a park, and he has the idea for the mural. And he's like, but I need $20,000, and what are the rules and regulations? So I kind of see the rules and regulations as separate from the money.
process, yeah.
I see the financing separate from the process to put art in the park, say. I don't know why I see it separate, but it seems to make sense in my brain somehow.
Yeah, no, I think, so you have the end result, sure.
Yeah.
But I'm saying for any project that may come in, like Benny wants to do a mural in a park, How is he going to get the money for that?
Okay, so we're talking, yeah, okay.
Emmanuel wants to work with SUNY ESF to do, I don't know, lighting fixtures. You still need a mechanism to get the money coming in.
Right.
So no matter what the project is, no matter who is asking, you still need a mechanism to get money coming in for that project and coming out. In particular, because it's dealing with the parks, dealing with public land. Right?
So if Benny was getting funding from NEA, let's say, to do his piece, you're saying there needs to be a pathway between NEA and Benny,
Anyway.
National Endowment of the Arts?
Oh,
You'd be
yes.
very lucky. We'd all be celebrating a lot.
Yeah,
if you
so
got
we
an
would
NDA
never
grant. We'd all be going on
Yeah, I'd be
vacation.
gone. I'd be like,
so,
bye.
so Benny's like, I want to do this. How do I get my money for this project? Because I'm just an individual. They're not going to give it to me. Have to give it to a municipality or a nonprofit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, fiscal sponsorship. Yeah. So you're basically saying that we needed just like a tutorial for fiscal sponsorship that we can hand to everybody.
So that they know how to, yes.
I think that makes sense, yeah. Because yeah.
I was just involved. I was just involved in 2 projects for NEA, and they were both completely different. Because they wanted me to be the sponsor, not the sponsor, but the partner. They wanted me to be the partner.
And
because
you
of
as
this-
an individual, or you as your role here?
in my role.
Okay.
Because they wanted to partner with the city, but it was 2 different projects. So I don't know. Like, I wonder if each project is kind of unique as far as what you would need to obtain.
Yeah, I would say, because
Sponsorship.
that's where it can get kind of tricky because, again, like depending on the actual grantee, like whether it's on the national, county, like even state level, or even just like non-for-profit level, like community foundation. Let's say community foundation has this like big initiative where they like, okay, here's $20,000 that we can donate to public art. What is that? Like the requirements for the artist would be just very different, and the requirements for like, okay, well, you need approval from this person, support from this person, a letter from this person. I like what you're saying, but I do think like there's, and maybe this is something we just need to continue to brainstorm on, like how does that channel of funding get to?
Yeah, there might not be
Yeah.
a one-size-fits-all
I was just going to say that. I mean, obviously, each grant has its own intricate requirements, and
Yeah.
every single opportunity is completely different. But I do think, I mean, even as a layperson coming in here, if I wanted to do something like this, I would have no idea where to even
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
So if we can at least develop some sort of foundational information as to how
Yeah.
best to approach this, that is kind of broad strokes across the board, just so that
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't feel as intimidating and it doesn't feel as, it doesn't get as frustrating,
Well, that's what I mean, like a simple document that says, this is how you can do it. You work through a fiscal sponsor.
Right.
This is the types of fiscal sponsors that we have a relationship with.
Right.
And they are understanding what we're trying to do as an entity.
And kind of to the earlier point, just kind of again, I think with exposure, that will help too, because I don't think a lot of people really understand not only the existence of, but the functionality of what the commission does. And so I think working in conjunction with the 2 task force, that might help a
Yeah.
lot as well.
I'm wondering, I think sometime in the last year or so, there's been a little bit of discussion about maybe working with the Central New York Community Foundation so that we could solicit private funds in support of art, and if we did that, that might lend itself to a set of rules that are the same for maybe every project in some measure. Whereas if we're doing a project where we're going, well, in NEA or New York State Council on the Arts or any of the other public or not-for-profit organizations, they will be as different among themselves as the artists are among themselves. But I think it wouldn't hurt us though to see what's the potential for setting up an arrangement to receive private funds, and then we would need a set of rules for how private funds can be used to support either a municipal project or a private project with the approval of the commission. So
I mean, we also, like, as an entity, should be researching for grants. And we can commission or work with nonprofits to commission that work. So that's the other thing too. It's like not just like, you know, Benny's coming up and saying, I want this mural. It's us saying, we want to put a statue in Skiddy Park. We're going to write for this grant, but we need a fiscal sponsor to administer it. So, you know, I think it's just like having that just a simple conversation, like you will get the funds for us and you will be administering it for us in a public setting and in our park. So there needs to be some sort of a policy on like what that looks like generically. And then I think, you know, having a list of all the different types of nonprofits that are willing to be a fiscal sponsor and help. And we can say, hey, you know, Benny needs a fiscal sponsor. I'm giving him this list and he was going to call you. And then, so that then there's a basic understanding of their responsibility for that project and our responsibility. So that's what I mean by developing some sort of a mechanism that's clear, doesn't frustrate people. Because I'll tell you, with the Lipe Art Park one, they got donation. They got a $2,000 donation from the fundraiser. Harold gave it to the Syracuse Parks Conservancy. They cashed the check. And then when Tommy was supposed to do the project, he couldn't because he didn't know how to get the money out.
Right.
So I think, you know, just, and then he's like, I don't know what to do. What do we do? So just trying to have a greater understanding of, they give you the money, they have this project, you got to make sure that they get the money to do the project. We've approved it. So that's what I'm saying, I guess.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think too, just going off that, I think it could be interesting to, and kind of going off Emmanuel's point, like understanding like who are our grantees at, like, again, the city, the county, the state, even the national level, because I think that could be, because again, like I think community foundation would be a great like source of private funding that could be, again, it's at the city level, and not even really at the city level, it's at the community level. So the way that those projects would operate, the way that the finances be moved around would operate very differently than if we did like a NISCA grant or something, because that's a very different just process.
Right.
CNY Arts has $500,000 available for public art projects for municipalities. So,
Is that through the county? The county funding?
yes.
I think, okay. I mean, I thought is that the county is looking at those and granting them, and then the CNY Arts is just administering those funds?
I know that we're
Yeah.
eligible because they wanted, I reached out and they want some information from me, and then they're going to set up a meeting. So I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
They were interested in the art in the park kind of idea that we talked about when I met with Tina. We talked about.
Oh, the quadrants?
Actually, just a, I don't know if this is more related, but just kind of a sidebar, kind of related. Is the commission full? Are we missing? Okay.
Well,
Okay,
yeah.
never mind then.
This commission?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking because there is someone who's literally a former student of mine who is an architecture student interested in public art and public spaces and transformation and works with CNY
We're
Arts.
always,
So
it's
we're,
good to know.
please have whoever's interested join a task force.
Okay, yeah.
Because I specifically think we should have members of the community. I also want to invite Ty Marshall, who was one of the founders of the Public Art Commission, to come back and to help us develop some of the, the overarching things that we need, policies and procedures, and I forget the task force name, but yeah, I mean, we need to bring in experts to help us.
Cool.
So, and then, when an opening comes up, that person may be able to fill it.
It's likely that an opening, there will be a couple of openings, so.
Oh.
In the not too distant future, I would imagine.
On the, to go back to the fiscal sponsorship thing, I'm not sure like what solution, what value, what I'm about to say really presents, but I will, NIFA, NIFA, New York Foundation is.
Yeah.
So number one is I think that they offer fiscal sponsorship, but also their newsletter, they are always offering classes for artists to navigate some of the other aspects of being an artist, like the business of art and budgeting and all these other things. So number one is they might have like workshops or webinars or something about how to do fiscal sponsorship. 2, they might be willing to collaborate on it. At 3, it might just be an interest, a model to say like, all right, what are they doing to educate artists, and then maybe we can kind of build off of what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, for this, it's not about the educating artists right now. It's about getting that infrastructure in place so that we can solicit for funding and have those non-for-profit fiscal sponsors established. And we can go to them and be like, hey, we're getting $30,000 for street art. Can you help us? And then to make sure that they have policies in place to how they work with the artists and how they communicate to artists and, administer their funding.
I really like what you said, though. That's really useful to have that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if y'all get that newsletter, but it might just be it might just be helpful to see what
Oh,
mechanisms.
no, I agree
they
with you.
have.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm just saying, in general, we need right away an infrastructure set in place. And then we definitely need to educate artists on
Right.
everything else.
They might have an infrastructure.
Yeah, no, we look to that for the model. Yeah. Other things, so that was my number one thing, because without that, we're sort of floundering, was my thought. And then, researching potential grant opportunities, making maybe a spreadsheet we can all add to, like, here's an opportunity, here's the deadline, like, something like this that, Anne can keep track of, because ultimately I think the city will have to apply for grant funding through, yes, so then you guys are blessed with the work. Fundraising opportunities, I think the merch could be the fundraising opportunity.
In the mixer
In the what?
from before that I wanted to do,
The mixer?
cupcakes and cocktails, or cupcakes and mocktails.
Yep.
Because I'm full of ideas.
That's awesome.
And so, and then just identifying funding sources for long-term maintenance. And I think this is where we talk to the community, about the community foundation, actually with the community foundation, to create a trust fund, and then whatever interest would be used for maintenance, long-term maintenance, is what we had talked about before. I don't know what that conversation was, because I think Dan, the previous chair, met with them, and Kate. So I don't know if there's stipulations, or if, I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know where that went.
Yeah, I don't know where that went either.
Another organization that might be worth reaching out to the same kind of thought is Adapt CNY. I'm working with one of the members. Well, I think he's the president right now, actually.
Is it Eric
Yeah,
Ennis?
yeah, he was talking. We kind of had a couple of. Yeah, it's another project. But he'd offered up support for the Public Art Commission, and if members of his organization, or so maybe a conversation with that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, that sounds like a good action item. Other than that, I think it's just continuing to build the relationships with granting organizations, because there's money out there and artists are missing some opportunities, and we should be encouraging them, or saying, hey, like, we want to do a project, can we have some Gifford Foundation money for this, a what if grant? So, those conversations, I don't know, they need to start happening, and we can start planning those out, and because there's rounds, there's deadlines and things like that. And then I guess my other, it's just, I still don't understand how volunteer groups work with the parks, and, like, we have the LIPE group set up, and they're trying to build their own bylaws, and they're trying to, plan for what's going to happen in LIPE. But there's no clear understanding of how what they're saying will be communicated to parks, and how that will actually be implemented, if it's implemented. So I guess I'm trying, I would like more clarification, I guess, with how groups work with parks and the decision-making process and how that works, because it just seems like it's different for different groups. Like, some groups have carte blanche and can do whatever they want. Other groups, not so much. So,
I think it varies a lot.
yeah.
I probably would be, I'm guessing, it depends on how long the organizations have been established, how, what kind of work they've been doing, how active they are. Like if you think about the Rose Garden Association, it's 100 years old. So their precedent goes back so far, and they've maintained it. So, and they're very active. So it's kind of like I think it's like a routine.
Right.
Other people maybe not be so active. I don't know. I mean, I'm brand new too. I've only been there a few months, so I'm going to put it on my agenda to do some more research.
Cool. All right. The other ideas I had for funding was a percentage for the arts. That's a city capital projects, new builds. That would have to be some sort of a legislation that they write, or the county. County has some sort of percentage for entertainment industry, 3%, something like this. I don't know. We don't get any of it. That's my point. So we need to start getting some money. So how do we have those conversations? We need to be at the county table. Who can we talk to at the city level to get a percentage for the arts? That's long term. This is not short term. It's long term.
I think that would be a very effective, a lot of cities do that.
No.
You know, and so like, I just saw somebody got a major tax break on a project. Yeah, I was reading something yesterday, but, you know, I'm thinking, well, wouldn't it be nice if, okay, yeah, they got the tax break, and we got 1% of construction for you know, for our coffers, so that we could commission things, you know.
Yeah, we give you a tax break, you give us $1 million for public art. Like, that's the deal. Yeah, I mean, long-term maintenance is always a problem. So, yeah, how do we develop a strategy to fund that? How do we maintain our collection? And we're growing, so that's, you know, what are we doing about that?
One of the that was suggested to me when I came in that's necessarily not been done is there's no signage for anything.
Right.
And I don't know whether some of the money that was allocated in this last year, in the 24-25 budget, should actually go to signage as part of like contributing to maintenance. And then I'm unclear as to how decisions are made regarding artwork that's deteriorated a lot. How that process is facilitated to say, okay, it should go, decommission it, or it should be restored.
Have we
Because there
ever-
are some that fall into those categories where really I think maybe it is on the side of decommissioning the work.
Have we ever decommissioned work before? Do you
I
know?
can ask Kate. Yes, actually I think, because I've seen it on documents, but I couldn't tell you which ones because I've just seen it on lists that things have been decommissioned.
Wow.
So I'll put that on my list too.
Yeah, what's that
We have
process?
stuff in inventory at parks that hasn't been on public display for a long time. And I'm trying to think of who put that list together. Oh, gosh. It was like within the 20 teens, though, before he retired. He used to be in planning and development at parks.
Oh, Glenn?
Glenn. Yeah.
Lewis.
Yeah. I think he developed a list of what was the total inventory,
Okay,
and you know, and where is that stuff?
right.
There's several, like 2 or 3 lists of inventory in different, well, that have been on databases that I've seen.
Okay.
And one's quite extensive and it has like plaques and all sorts of things, and it has about 250 items on it. So maybe that's.
But I do think that, you know, if we want to establish a network of pieces out there, it does have to become clear whose job it is to maintain it. You know, everything from getting trash away from it, which is maybe simple maintenance. But what happens if after a storm there's literal damage to it, and we need to call in a person whose skills are in restoration? You know, which is that's not free.
I wonder as a commission whether we advocate, whether we decide, you know, which pieces. I mean, I've spent time since I came onto the job photographing the work for the website, and there are some pieces that I would say probably are not restorable, you know, mural type projects. But then there are some you're like, well, do we fix this? And there's a lot that don't really fall into either category that are kind of doing okay, bar some litter and some grounds maintenance, reading and such. I don't know. I'll put it by Kate, and then I wonder if it is up to us and all the artists. And it might be what agreement was made when the artwork was put up, was installed. Whether there was an agreement, like a timeline saying it's 10 years.
Yeah, that's true. All right, and let's move it along. I'm going to move on to the next one. Our public art business and organization partnership. So Elias and I are on this. I am suggesting that we partner with the downtown committee because they have a list of businesses that could possibly donate money and/or lend space on the exterior and maybe the interior for the performance collaboration, like, something like that. So they would be a good partner because in our master plan, which I did try to put at the top of these, I pulled out where, specific references to what's in our master plan. And it does say in our master plan, identifying especially areas within the downtown region, which I don't know if we want to, necessarily stick to that plan, but it is what's in there. So that's why I was thinking that partnership would really benefit us. And then, I guess back to partnering with other organizations to host workshops, like NIFA. CNY Arts is doing a seminar in the fall on public art, which we should probably be at the table for that and help promote it.
I didn't even know that.
So we could put that on your list of action items to contact Scott. I don't forget, one of the Scotts.
What's up with your public arts forum?
Yeah, Harriman?
They're like, from the
Or
public
Jackaway.
arts.
I don't know, I forget which. There's this one Scott that,
The one with the J is new.
okay, Harriman, I think it is.
I can't say his last name.
Jackaway?
I met with him when I was at the hotel.
Okay. So I don't know where they're at with that, but we could all have a panel discussion. We could be like, if you want to learn how to do public art in the city, come talk to us, whatever. And you could lead, 5 keynote speeches at that.
Awesome, I'll get right on that. Maybe I won't ask him anything about it.
But anyway, so there's that. And then Emmanuel had talked about working with universities and colleges to do a revolving art mural program. So, I think we need to be strategic on where we place that and not just give it carte blanche to students, because I think, some neighborhoods may not want just university art inundating them. So if we're strategic, I know that Everson has some land that they don't use. I don't know if you want to talk to the Everson about that public land that we could possibly have a partnership with universities and start to do that now, or we wait till ID1 and we build, maybe some students have that space.
And we had early on, meaning a few years ago, when the idea first came up, we had talked about doing it in city parks and also maybe on school sites.
Parks and Rec are very open to having artwork in the parks, so that opens up 1,000 acres of land.
So we should identify locations, and then Emmanuel, I don't know if you want to take the lead on that to work with.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Okay, and then I guess just getting interns, getting people to help us. They can help with social media. They can help Anne write all our grants that we need to write. I don't know. What do we need? We need to start, Anne, you need to start telling us what you need, and then we can start.
Yeah, we gave Kate interns from time to time,
Yeah.
our department.
I'm pretty sure we can get some on-point students.
That's a good idea.
I
Yeah.
can talk to Sam and we can get some.
Okay, anybody have any questions or concerns? No? Okay.
I guess I was wondering, which is a very minor point, you had said that you didn't necessarily want to do both these, so I don't know whether, do we just hold it for now and
I'll
wait
just,
and see?
yeah.
what
I mean,
happens?
unless somebody else wants to jump on these, I'm all for it. I mean, Elias is on the business one. It's okay, I got it, no problem. All right, next is Maggie's new, but she has volunteered for the Public Art Master Plan and Public Arts Procedure Documents. Maggie, do you want to say a few words?
So I just wanted to start off by saying that I am very much not an artist. I have been arts adjacent for about 15 years locally. So I definitely am someone who is concentrated and focused more on nuts and bolts, operational things of that nature. So as a layperson, reading and looking at the master plan as it stands felt very overwhelming in a sense that it's, you know, in the words of my grandma, it's a lot of words. There's a whole lot of words. There's like 3 pages of pictures. There's just a lot of language. And it's beautiful. It reads beautifully. But the master plan, I think, just in broad strokes, and this, I think, lends itself to every conversation we've had tonight, is that there's just not a whole lot of specificity. There's not a lot of direction. You know, the master plan itself almost, if you were to pick it up, reads more like a proposal than it does and a document that's supposed to explain and also make it clear what we do here and why we exist, what our initiatives are, how we can help. And while we could get into the weeds on all of these different ideas, I think, you know, when you're thinking about building an addition onto a house, you check your foundation first. And I think the foundation is this master plan, and as such, we got some cracks. I don't think anything's like detrimental or horrible. I think it's very, like I said, very beautifully written. But I do think that there's a lot of information in there that as someone, like, you know, you were talking about one of your students coming in, if you just handed that to a student who had never done anything like that before, they'd probably start crying.
Oh, yeah.
I would start crying. You know what I mean? So I think I definitely am open to, as I learn more about the committee or this commission and what we're all doing and what we're all working on, I'd definitely be open to have conversations, hopefully with each of you going forward as to like what people think is important for us to include, what are some things that maybe we could release into the universe, things that aren't in there that maybe should be in there. I definitely think Tina touching on the making the application process more clearly defined in every aspect of what we do would be exceptionally helpful, and especially as it pertains to the master plan, because there is some language in there about it, but again, it's kind of, I don't mean to be derogatory, but it's very like flowery. It reads like Tolstoy.
I think it needs updating.
For sure.
And I have found, and I will send it to you.
Thank you.
Is Watertown, Massachusetts. They just redid theirs a couple of years ago, and it is really well done.
Love that
I
for
think.
us.
So,
then my task force is completed. Thank you. So have a good night. I'm all set. I'll be
as far as looking at that for an updated model about
For sure.
art thinking,
100%.
about public art, and it was done under the auspices of Boston, because it's in the Boston
For sure.
and apparently they oversee
Right.
public art for like 160 municipalities.
Right.
So their reach is really broad and they have a lot of resources.
Right.
But as far as dipping into it and thinking about the way that's done as a way that we could
Absolutely.
start investigating hours or include some of it.
100%.
So,
And I also would have, if you and I could at some point get together
absolutely.
and talk about, because I'm sure that there are things that we are required to have, you know, published, and I don't necessarily know what those requirements would
I think it's
be.
kind of there's lots of different parts to it. There's the procedural, there's the ordinance, that stuff
Right.
is a different animal to some of the other stuff like vision, mission,
Sure.
goals. Like I think.
And again, I didn't
falls
mean to
into
sound
different categories.
disparaging. It's just that
It was written in 2007.
well, and I mean, and again, I think it's very beautifully written, but like, it's just not, it's not very helpful. And I think that I think our focus at least should try and be, if not helpful, then at least encouraging to people and not scaring them away. And then I think the other part of it, and I don't mean to divide the two, but yeah, the procedural documents with like the application process. I think a huge part of just in talking with friends of mine that have gone through this process before is just like expectation. You know what I mean? Like how do we mitigate applicants' expectations? How can we express what they should be able to expect from us as far as communication, timeline, responsiveness, things of that nature? Because I think if we're able to, you know, have everybody on the same page, then not only will we be able to accomplish a lot more, but I think we will run into a lot less of the back and forth and conflict that we have seen up until this point. So definitely a work in progress. I would love to hear from everyone. And if you get a moment afterwards, we could chat about when you're available to get together and talk about it.
I'm here.
Dope. Sweet. That's it. Thanks.
All right, so I just have two things to say, and then we can adjourn. The City of Kansas has two ribbon cutting ceremonies back to back to timing with artists and our schedules. So at the lakefront, it'll be Sunday, September 8th at noon. Hoping the mayor is supposed to be there to say a few words. I don't think he can be, but we're going to have a short program. Maybe cut a ribbon, and then that's it.
You've seen the scissors.
Do you have that? Oh, good.
We
Okay.
have the scissors.
Oh, good.
I don't have a ribbon, but there were some very large scissors.
I'll get a ribbon. And then the Valley is having the next day, which is the end of the City is Campus program. So that's the last one. We're getting Gannon's there's a funeral home parking lot, so we're gonna have a big event there.
I was just wondering where the funeral home was going to come into play.
Yeah. So they're
That's
it's
what I
in
was like, all right.
in a casket. So ice cream. We're working on maybe music, maybe some alcohol testing if they can pull a license off. We're different businesses. The Valley, which
No, when?
the next day, September 9th at 6. I know. Bring her with you. Ice cream.
Ice cream.
Ice cream for the
Liquor
family
testing.
and liquor. Testing, yeah. Well, maybe, depending on taking the license or not. And so, yeah, so that'll be like a big end of the program kind of event, hopefully not rain, fun times, et cetera. The last thing I want to say is I just want to give a nod off to Ryan Wood, who is a local artist who recently passed away. He made, definitely made a mark in this community and affected a lot of people with his sudden passing. So I just want to take a moment of silence to recognize Ryan Wood, if you don't mind. Well, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
I think this
Yeah,
was
thanks,
good.
everybody.
Anne's got some work to do.
Always.
Motion
I just
to
have to
adjourn.
list after list after list after
We got a
list
motion to
after list.
adjourn?
Wait,
Second.
motion, second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
We're second.
I just have to list after list after list after list. Let's turn these off.